names or pictures. There's Chris. All right, now we're getting some other great faces out there. I'm going to give us one. Pardon? I'm going to give us one more minute and then we are going to start. Melissa, do you have anybody else? Like, can you see anybody else? I don't know if we had a waiting room or if everyone just kind of came in. Are we good to go?
They're just coming right in. There's no waiting room.
Fabulous. All right. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Tamara Christensen. I am the Chester County Council Commissioner, and it is my pleasure. And it's so great to see all of you tonight to talk about, I'm sure, everybody's favorite topic, Recharter. So I appreciate you spending a bit of time with us. We have some people in on the call tonight that are here to support you, cheer you on, do whatever we can to make this easy for you. Doug Pinard and Melissa Pendle are on here. There's Doug in his fabulous sweater. Here to support you. Those are our district professional staff. I see Jake's on here. He's always great. I'm sure you've seen him around camp. We have Nathan Christensen, who is an assistant council commissioner. We have Norm Long. I see Norm over there. And we may have Tom, there's Norm. And those are our district commissioners that serve our districts. So welcome, welcome. Nathan, you are up, my friend.
All right. Hey, good evening, everybody. Good news is we'll find it very similar. So what we're going to do first, let me share my screen, is we are going to, there we go. We are going to cover this few slides from the National Council on how the overall process works and what is expected for this year. And then we're going to go from there into some of the Chester County Council specific procedures. So as we go, if there's questions, you can pop them in the window and then Tamara will help facilitate to answer them as we go through. We'll pop back and forth between this and some of the other applications. All right, so what we're going to cover here, is just a refresher on what is this whole charter process about, what do we have to do to be successful, and kind of the key upfront steps around understanding your membership inventory, making sure everybody's YPT trained. We'll cover the timeline and then the resources, and then we'll switch from here into the Chester County Council specific items. So just a quick refresher. The charter basically authorizes an organization, what we call a charter organization, like a church or some other organization, to operate a scouting unit, and it is the agreement between that organization and the BSA, kind of like a franchise, and it's renewed annually, typically for a period of 1 year, and it makes sure that all of our registrations are current, and make sure everybody's paid up, covered under the insurance, etc. So here's really the keys to the process: is start early. Don't wait until the last minute. It will let the whole process run smoother, especially when you run into any particular issues that you need to go address. So the key is pick somebody from your unit to be the Recharter champion. It is most often, a committee chair, maybe the charter organization rep, occasionally the unit leader. In some places, it is delegated to like another member of the committee to champion the process. In that case, you'll have to make sure that they have access to some of the tools. But again, have a single person from your unit accountable for the process. And then up front, complete your membership inventory. And so that involves comparing your membership online, and we'll cover how to get that again, versus who you really think is active in your unit, both youth and or adults that you may have added, as well as youth or adults that have dropped or transferred, moved away. Making sure we have everybody, all of our adult leaders, YPT trained, and then have a plan to collect the fees. And you may have already done this as part of your annual dues and are just covering out of your unit account, or you may need to do it specifically for this. And then the last slide in here has some links, and then we'll cover the timeline slide. All right. So here's kind of things that can mess up or slow down your Recharter process. So especially if you have anybody new, adult, who's not signed the background check approval form, that has to be in. If any of your adults are missing or expired YPT, that is a prerequisite. Also important to note, youth, who are going from youth to adult, need to make sure they have that. We have to have signatures, the applications, background check form. One of the key three has to approve the charter before it can be processed. Any missing applications, both youth or adult, but especially adult, you're making sure you have your fees sorted out. And then we talked about this already. If you have youth who are turning 18, they do need to complete the full steps in the process. And specifically for us in Chester County Council, we also have to make sure we have the Pennsylvania clearances in place. All right. Here's the timeline, and don't be scared if you didn't start this on August 1st. Everybody here can get this done easily. But there's really 3 steps to it. The orange section here is preparing for the Recharter. The yellow section is actually doing the Recharter on the online tool. And then the final process is after the Recharter turn-in is for our council registrar and Doug and Melissa to validate all of the Recharter info and to work with you to resolve any problems that are preventing either your unit in its entirety or specific youth or adult members from rechartering. So if we kind of cover each piece again, so prepare for the process. If you have a unit commissioner, they are there to help you with the process. If not, you can work with myself or Tamara or your district commissioner or Doug or Melissa if you've never done it before. You assign that adult leader, typically from your committee or key 3, to run the process. Make sure you have everything you need, and then do that membership inventory process and make sure all of your YPT is in place. And note on this one, Chester County Council has a more stringent policy than the National Council. And so anybody's YPT has to have completed in 2022. So that it is not expiring in 2023. Then the next step is log on to the online Recharter tool. The good news is you do not need an access code this year. You can just log in and then you update your rosters. You're either adding people, removing people, update contact information, make sure your multiple registrations are right, double check YPT again. Make sure anybody that has joined your unit in the fall, this especially applies to Cub Scout packs, but it could apply to anybody, or you have new youth or adult leaders. Get that done early, get their apps in early so that everything is in the tool. You're not having to mess with the paper applications while you're doing the internet Recharter. Then make sure you've collected the fees, and then there's a process to submit with a couple of different options. And then one of the key 3 has to approve it in the tool. And then from there, it submits and goes to the council. Chester County Council is going to give a few extra days. So our deadline is November 19th. And in the past, and for probably the past many years, many of you have gone to one of the in-person Recharter days. Last year it was either at Park or I think one of the churches or in your district or at Tom Wilson's house. This year there will be no in-person days. Everything is done online. And then if you need help, you can schedule an appointment or go into Park to meet with Doug and Melissa or anybody else who can help you with that. All right.
So Nathan, real quick, you referred to a number of things happening, quote, within the tool. Is the tool Scoutbook in this?
So the tool is, and I'll demonstrate the tool on the next slide, and I'll actually flip in and log into it. But it's the internet Recharter application, and it's the same place where you go for internet advancement. So if you hold that question, I'll get to that on the next slide or 2.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right. So here's a little bit more detail on that membership inventory process. right? So who's ever coordinating this, you want to validate all your members. Are they going to recharter or not? If anybody is in multiple units, it's most common with either adult leaders, who could be part of a pack and a troop, or a troop and a crew, or a troop and the council, or older youth who could be in a troop and a crew or a Sea Scout ship. Make sure they're, which unit's going to be their primary and which unit they're multiple in. Understand, is your unit as a whole doing Scout Life subscriptions or individually or not at all? To understand that. Make sure everybody understands the fees if you do not collect them already. Excuse me. And then you make sure you have that roster ready to go. So the first step is, checking to see what the online scouting.org system has. And so I'm going to swap over here to a web browser, and I'm going to look at Zoom here. All right. So if I stay signed in. All right, there's too many tools. All right, log in again here. So I think most of you are familiar with your my.scouting.org account. It is the same place that you do your youth protection training. And so I was already logged in. So you can go up to your menu. Move this out of the way. Sorry. So the units, some of the units that I have access to is like ship and crew 419. So if I click on our Sea Scout ship, you can click on the roster like that. It will bring up the roster for your unit. And then the easiest way to work with it is you can export that roster. And then what you can do is either save it to a PDF file or export it to a CSV file and bring that into Excel. And then compare your working roster for your unit with what the online one is, to look at who's dropped, who's added but not in the system yet. People have changed roles, moved from youth to adult, transferred units, etc. So that's really the first step in the process, is complete that inventory and compare it to your roster off of my.scouting.org. All right. Then we'll go to the next slide. So again, with youth protection training, you can also get that for your unit from my.scouting.org again. So if I go back to our unit here, and what I can do is, you can see right here, I pulled this up recently, but if not, you can go into your unit and there is a YPT report. This will show anybody who needs YPT training, and you can take a look at their effective through date. And so for our unit right here, you can see that everybody's YPT expires in the upcoming calendar year. So all 5 of these individuals, me included, need to take their YPT training prior to the recharter, so that when you take it, it's good in the national system for 2 years. So it will show 2024. You cannot have anything expiring in 2022 or 2023. All right. So then the question is to internet order tool. And so it's right here's the link, and this will be in all the material that we send out, but it's under advancements.scouting.org. You use your my.scouting ID to log in. There is a very detailed manual here on the national website that takes you through screen by screen how to do it. You can either access it if you're already one of the key 3, so the Cub Master, Scout Master, etc., the Charter Org Rep, or the committee chair, or they can delegate access to you. And you go to the advancements.scouting.org link, you log in, and here's a screenshot of everything that you do for that process. It also shows you how to do it. So here I am, I'm logged into the tool. You can see our ship. And then if I click Recharter, it will start the process. It will select the term to calculate the fees. Everybody here should be a 12-month term, unless there's a unique circumstance to discuss with your district executive. You can save your term. And then it clicks off the recharter process. So here, for example, if they're YPT rules, so it's a little bit more stringent. It will tell you if they have a criminal background check. If that's red, you need to take care of that. Here's a Scout Life magazine, etc. And then you can use that to edit. It will show you removed members, etc. So I'm not going to go through all of the detailed steps. You can watch the video or refer to the Recharter guide. All right.
So we should have access to that right now, or that
Yeah.
will
So it opened on October 1st. So if you are one of the key three and you go to this link, you will already have access, and you'll see that Recharter link on the left of that screen. Last year, it required a special access code. This year, it was automatic if you are one of those key three positions.
Does a key three delegate have access to that level?
It should if you delegate the access.
Okay.
If not, I would sit down with one of the key three in your unit and walk through with them to delegate you access. And if there's any challenge with that, reach out to Doug or Melissa. All right. So we're going to swap over now to our council specific process. And let me try to move some of these things out of the way. So Melissa put together a very nice website on our council website, and a specific process for our council. And so a lot of the info we covered is already here, but here's the link on our council website. And it's a very nice page right here that has all of the key links to get to it. So here's the link to the advancements.scouting.org to do the online recharter. Here's a link to that presentation I just gave, the manuals, etc. Here's our council guide, and then some FAQs. If you need some of the other forms, they're here. So we're going to go back to the forms. So again, the online system opened October 1st, no codes, so you should already have access. And our ask is that you complete this process by November 19th, and that gives the council time to do any checks and corrections with you so that your Recharter can process cleanly. Again, no in person, you've done that in the past. We'll cover payments in a bit, but they can be done online or check, and we'll talk about that. Here's kind of some of the key links that we've already covered. So again, we covered some of these already. Check that all your adults are trained. The YPT we talked about. It has to be good through 2024, cannot expire in 2023 or earlier. Chester Council also has a specific policy that any youth direct contact leaders, so Cub Master, Den leaders, Scout Masters, Assistant Scout Masters, or any of the hands-on roles in cruiser ships do need to complete their position-specific training within 6 months of being registered. If not, they should be registered as a unit committee member. We covered the YPT. That's kind of a common one that trips people up sometimes or prevents you from rechartering a specific person. Specific to our council, I know everybody who's already registered has done either the PA background checks, or if you're from a Maryland unit, you submitted the Maryland waiver that does not expire. Just as a reminder, our council has an online portal to make it easy to upload those to you. Doug, are you guys sending out notices about anybody whose clearances are expiring?
Yes. Currently, everyone who has clearances in the system should be getting personal emails about if their clearances are coming up to be expired. And I believe their committee chair also gets CC'd on those emails. And then starting probably in the next week or so, I think the reports will start going out to the key three with the unit clearance report on it. Is that correct, Jake? Is that starting next week?
That is correct. Yeah. So Well, every once in a while now, all the key three at least should be receiving the Act 153 clearances report. And as a reminder, if you have clearances that expire personally, you'll get an email 60, 30, and 15 days out. And as Melissa said, the committee chair is also copied on those emails, so they are aware of the expiring clearance. And if leaders do expire their clearances during the year, because there was a question in the chat box about that, there's a feature basically that suspends their registration. But to answer the question specifically, the clearances do not need to be good through the entire calendar year. They need to be good through, basically mid-January at the very earliest. But they are free 57 months into the 60 months too.
Very good. Thanks, Jake and Melissa. And the next key thing, and this will really make your recharter process go so much smoother, is if you have any new youth members, say you're a PAC and you recruited some scouts, recently or here in the fall, or you're in a unit and you had somebody transferred in, or you have a new adult leader that you're registering, please, please, please get those applications in ahead of the recharter process. It will make it so much easier to get your recharter processed than trying to do it at the same time. So you can either drop them off at Park, do it online, or send them to the registrar for the council. At the same time, you have to get the YPT in, the state clearances that we just talked about. Make sure your forms are signed. If it's a youth form, parent and unit leader. An adult application is typically the charter org rep signs. All adults have to have that background check page signed, and there's a link for that on our Recharter slide as well. So it really, again, makes the process so much easier. From a fees perspective, we'll come back to that in a minute. There are a few units that may be changing chartered organizations due to challenges from the bankruptcy. So if you were chartered by a Methodist church, you're likely changing, or some others could. Those changes and that process needs to be kicked off well ahead of this recharter process. So I think all of you who are doing that should be aware already. If there's any questions, work with Doug and Melissa, or to contact their council registrar. We talked about the rechartering process already. Here's the instructions on how to delegate access if it's not one of the key three. And then at the end of the recharter process is the fees. Last year you had to pay directly. This year the online option is being allowed, or the pay at council option is being allowed, so you can choose. Note that if you pay via a credit card, there's a 3% processing fee associated with that. I think most of our units do pay directly to the council. The council does, on the council program fees, provide a 5% rebate, for your unit to use how you see fit. A lot of units use that for scholarships, or they could just credit it back to families, but it was really intended to help, scouts in need. So the fees for this year, a youth is $145, so that's $75 for the national council component of the fee, and $70 for the Chester County portion of the fee. If the youth is a new youth and they've never registered before, there is a one-time national fee of $25. And then the adult fees this year are $83. So the $45 is the national council fee, $38 for Chester County. If anybody's youth are doing Scout Life, it's $15 for the year. And then each unit has to pay a $100 recharter fee as part of that. And then the council, besides that 5% fee on our program fees, does offer either multi-scout or multi-family discounts. So if you have 2 scouts in your family, the second scout and thereafter gets $20 off the council program fees. So that brings it from 70 down to 50. And if you have multi-adults in your family, only the first adult pays the $38 fee and the rest are not. Now you may wind up with circumstances where you have your youth and or adults primary registered in different units. So you pay with the unit that you're primary registered in. And just when you're turning in your charter paperwork, and I think it's on the form at the end, we'll show you, there's an option to note that. So for example, you know, like our kids are in different troops, the same crew, et cetera. So if we're, you know, paying for them in different units, we can note the discount, you know, with one of the units. And then there's a digital signature required at the end of the process, like we've talked to. All right. So what's new this year, because we are not doing the in-person charter day, is the council has a online form that we want you to fill out when you're ready to submit. So go to the form, you put the contact person who is submitting it and did the recharter process, list your option for how you want to pay. So again, your options where you could have done credit card in the internet recharter tool, and there is a 3% fee. You can call in a credit card number to our council office if you're not comfortable putting it in online. Again, there's a 3% fee. You can either mail or drop off a check at Park. And then there's an option for how do you want to receive that 5% rebate, either in your unit account or have a check mailed back to you. And then finally, the email distribution list to get emails from about this particular process. And then at the very end, the Journey to Excellence program is still in place. If you're not familiar with it, there's a form for a PAC, there's a form for a troop, et cetera. And there's 3 levels of bronze, silver, gold. And it's really just, you know, recognizing your unit. Are you doing the right things, right? So for example, here's, you know, 2022, the scorecards, there's a PAC and a troop. Well, these are optional. We do encourage you to do this. So for example, if you're a PAC, you download the PAC version. And typically the unit leader and the committee chair would fill this out together. If you have a unit commissioner, include them in the process. But basically it has some overall themes, you know, so planning and budget, membership, program, leadership. And then it has what you need to do to qualify for bronze, silver, and gold. You know, so for example, one of them is, you know, growing Cub Scouts, and you know, how many dens do you have? You know, one is on retention, et cetera. And then you circle the number of points that you have. Then at the bottom, you add up the number of points, and it tells you what level you qualified at. There's options for like a streamer for your flag and patches for your uniform if you choose to do those. But regardless of whether you want to get those or not, we encourage you to turn it in. It's just a really good tool for your unit key 3 to evaluate kind of objectively how your unit is doing overall, and are you considering kind of all the dimensions of what it means to have a good unit. And let's go back to the form. Then finally, we talked about the payment options already. We'll click on this one. Most of our units have a unit account with the council. And if you need to, you can fill in an updated letter of authorization. So you put your unit number, the date, and then who is authorized to spend against that account, you know, with the council or at the scout shop. Who's your treasurer and signature if you're running low on funds and the council needs to contact you. And then you submit it, and that way we have an updated version on file. So if you're buying badges or other things, you know, you have your current advancement chair, whoever needs to do that, authorized and good to go. All right, so when you're done, if your unit likes to issue membership cards, I know the troop that I was with for a long time, we did that. It's all online now. You can go back into your my.scouting.org after your recharter is done and processed by the council, and give everybody their new annual membership cards. It's often very nice to present a copy of your charter certificate to your charter organization. You can print that out there as well. And then finally, we have our contacts here, the best bet is just email recharter@cccbsa.org. That way, if somebody is out and not available, you can get help from whoever. But if not, Doug is handling Diamond Rock and the Horseshoe Trail troops, and Melissa's handling Octorara District and the Horseshoe Trail packs. Of course, Tamara, myself, Norm, and any other district commissioners would be happy to help as well. So with that, before we go to any other questions, I don't know, Melissa, Doug, Jake, Tamara, anything we didn't cover that you want to highlight?
I see that William has popped in a question about if a youth is turning 18 during 2023, like our son, do they need to complete YPT before this recharter?
No, they don't. They don't. They're going to go into this recharter as a 17-year-old. But next year, if he's going to be a part of the unit, then he will have to sign up as an adult.
William, did that answer your question? Awesome. He said yes.
Great. Can I just add one thing that happens all the time since I've been here? And that is when you do your recharter, you're waiting on one adult to bring in clearances, or maybe even two adults to bring in clearances that don't need to hold up your recharter. You have your certain amount of ASNs, you have your certain amount of den leaders, you have your key 3, you can submit your recharter. When they get their clearances, these other adults, when they get their, then add them to the roster to, after recharter time. Please don't hold up your recharter waiting on one person's clearances that might not have a key position in your unit. So that's all because when it comes down to a crunch and push time, and we're sitting there next to the registrar, and we're going, oh, is this person really, can we get him off the roster now? And then when you get their clearances, we can add them. Oh yeah, you can do that. So please be aware of that. If an adult doesn't send his clearances or get his clearances at a time, and he's not in a key position in the unit, please don't put him on the charter. Once he gets his clearances, then add him to the charter. Very simple.
So Rachel had a follow. I have a question from Chris and a question from Rachel. So Rachel's asking a follow-up question to what you've just said, what you're talking about, Doug. And she's like, to follow up on what Doug is saying, what are the minimum number of positions adults needed to recharter?
If I'm not mistaken, the PAC has to have 4 a committee chair, 2 committee members, a cub master, and a den leader. So that would be 5.
Okay.
And a COR, right?
Pardon?
They need a COR, charter.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
well, CO, yeah, right. If you have a charter agreement signed, then that would give you, COR. I'm sorry, yeah, I left the
The
COR.
COR though can also act as a committee member. So they can,
Correct.
they're one of the only ones that can play 2 roles in that equation.
And then Chris had a question. Can a PDF version of the unit account authorization letter be added to the website?
Yes.
Yeah, Chris, it's already there. If you go to the JOT form and don't fill it out and just scroll down, you can get the PDF right at the bottom there.
Fabulous. All right. And
Yep,
Chris
right here.
Mulcahy, how do we go about adding a new executive officer? Should we use the standard BSA adult application?
Yeah, actually, if it's executive officer with your charter partner, all he has to do is fill out the bottom portion of a new unit application. He doesn't have to fill out a brand new, the whole 9 yards of the adult application. It's the bottom half of the unit application, the new unit application, which doesn't give into all the other personal questions. You can do either or, but I suggest a new unit app at the bottom.
So long as they're not going to be having any direct contact with the youth, if they're just going to be the executive officer.
Correct.
And then Lisa has a question. Does the COR have to pay?
Yes. The only one that doesn't pay is the executive officer.
Yeah. These are great questions.
But again, every adult will pay once and every youth will pay once to register. So if they're registered in multiple roles or in multiple units, and that goes for kids as well. They pay for the registration once with the BSA and with Chester County Council, and then their secondary units or roles that they're in are not paid again.
Hey, Pack 22 here. Just confirming in the room, we're at a committee meeting. All adults complete an application every year, right?
No,
No.
not every year. They're once they're registered, they're registered. I believe if you are not active for at least 12 months, after the 12th month, then you have to do a new application. But if you can drop out of scouting for 11 months, come back, you can pay your dues and start all over again. But no, just an application is done one time, and as long as it's current, you're fine.
Even
The
if
only time that you do
roll.
need to fill out a new application is if you switch units,
Transfer,
or
right.
if you add a new role. So like if you were a committee chair and then you're going to be the Cub Master, you need to fill out a new application at that point so that the chartered org rep can approve you in that role.
So if you go from being the wolf den leader to the bear den leader, you need to put in a new application.
No,
No?
not in the dens.
Okay.
In the dens, you don't. If you take over Cub Master, then you would, because
Got it.
Because it's a
that's-
different position code at that point.
Right.
Right,
Den leader,
just-
den leader.
And just to clarify too, if you have adults switching positions during recharter time, meaning January 1st, they're going to move from maybe a committee member to a Cub Master, there is no application required because the COR is going to sign off on that charter anyway. So new people, if you have a new adult, they will need an application. But if you have someone who is currently registered, changing to a new role, you will do that in the recharter system as part of your process, and there's no application at that point.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was going to ask. Thank you.
Awesome. Jake's always, way ahead of everybody and the way he can answer these questions that you're thinking about. We got a good question here about Honeybrook Pack 9 because their go-getters needs more applications. Can I get more? I love that question. Don't you, Melissa and Doug?
Yeah.
How can you?
Absolutely. Let me see who. The question is that Dalen? Is that you? I can drop some off on Monday. I think next Monday night, I believe. I don't know. I have to take a look. But yeah, or you can come by Park and pick them up.
And
We
if
are
you
happy-
haven't tried the online application yet, they are, I don't know how many of you here use online applications opposed to the paper ones. They are so much easier. Everything happens immediately, and at least for the youth. We can't do that with the adults, but for the youth applications, the online ones are enormously easier to do.
Awesome. So then I see Lisa had another question. What is the executive officer?
It's the executive officer is your chartered organization's pasture commander. The head of the chartered organization partner is the executive officer.
Awesome. And then Wayne, hi Wayne, it's good to see you on here. Wayne asking, what was the qualifier for the 5% rebate?
There's no qualifier. You just,
Right.
You just get it.
everyone receives a 5% rebate on all the council program fees. The only, I guess if there's a qualifier at all, is that we won't be sending those out until your charter is posted. So if you're dragging your feet on submitting clearances and things, we're not going to be sending those out until all the pieces are finalized. So that's just an incentive to get those things turned in quickly.
That's a nice incentive.
Can I throw a caveat in there? How about if you get the 5% if you get it all done by the 19th of November?
Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys, I've turned in the charter and had everything ready to go, and it didn't get processed till like February. So I make sure I get it in on time, and that's why I thought there might have been a qualifying time because I didn't see anything about that. But
Yeah,
we're going to get the charter in. I might be doing 2 or even 3 of them this year. We'll get them in.
It's because you're an expert, Wayne. Everybody
Yeah.
would love
Yeah,
to
but
do their.
you were talking about a 5% rebate and I didn't see where it was qualified, like if it needed to be in by November 19th and you didn't get it or something like that. I just wanted to make sure.
5% rebate is there to help provide extra funds back to the units that they can then use to provide financial assistance to people in their unit that might need it. It was too cumbersome for us to set up something where we, you apply for something and then this kid needs, and then we'd have to manage like which kids get it, which kids don't. We thought it would be easier to across the board just assign funds back to the unit so that they themselves could decide which kids in their units were most in need of financial assistance. So that's what that money is really supposed to be meant for.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so Chris, does the PAC, as a question, does the PAC need to submit the charter agreement doc online, or are our district executives going to handle this form with the COR?
It's up to the unit. They can get it, great. If not, it's the district executive's responsibility to get the charter agreement. So, but I find that most units are so heavily involved with a charter partner, they get it and submit it. But if you can't do it, then let us know and we'll get it for you.
Awesome. And is there a crew JTE scorecard?
I believe there is.
No, there was not one listed on the site, Doug.
Oh,
Yeah, it was supposed to be coming out, Bill, when they were like still working on it, and I haven't seen it be published yet. But we can look into that and then get back to you. So Nathan, that's a question for Bill Blankmeyer. Perfect. All right, from iPhone, if you're continuing as Cub Master again, do they need to re-register? No, you're going to be on the roster. You're good to go. Thank you for your service. I'll tell you that much. Cub Masters rock. I mean, all of y'all rock, but it's exciting that you're continuing on. Rachel's asking a question. What is the best practice for new adults submitting clearances, the online clearance site or hard copies to Park?
Unfortunately for the adults, we cannot do them online because of all the, I'm sorry, for clearances.
Yeah, the clearances.
Sorry, I was thinking applications.
I knew you were.
Submitting the clearances online is really the easiest thing because if you submit the hard copies, we're just going to scan them and put them up. So you're saving us a couple steps and probably getting it done quicker.
yeah, that reminds me, if everyone, I know it's a pain, but if you can, make copies of your clearances, make copies of all the paperwork that you turn in, because we have so much paperwork at this time of year. Something happens, a file gets lost, papers fall down behind a desk. Please make copies of all your clearances, all your paperwork, put in a file. So if we say, oh, Andrew Powell's clearances aren't with us, and you handed them, all you do is go to that file, scan it, send it to me, or drop me off a copy. It just saves a lot of aggravation later on.
Also,
Can I chime in here for a second? Oh, go ahead.
Sure.
So I just want to clarify, because I actually answered Rachel's question wrong. And there's a key factor is if you have a brand new adult, you will not be able to use the online clearance system. That system relies on a BSA ID number to validate, and a new person is not going to have a BSA ID number. So when you have a new adult, you should be turning in the application, youth protection certificate, clearances all in one package. And then at that point, they'll be able to use the clearance system. They won't need to for 5 years. But new adult registrants, all of that should come in as one bundle of paperwork. And that can come anytime. And again, you can email that to the registrar. You can drop it off at Park, either way, but that should come in as one complete package.
Thank you, Jake. That was important. So then I see that just to confirm, additional adults in the same family are $38. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then Lisa's still a little bit confused about the difference between the executive officer and the COR.
Okay, they could be the same. In some instances, they could be the same. The chartered organization rep is a person that the institute that is your chartered organization is appoints to be the liaison between that organization and your scouting unit. The institutional head is the head of that, the head of the chartered organization. It could be a priest, it could be a pastor, it could be a commander, it could be one of those positions. Sometimes they're the same. Most of the time, they're not. If it's a church, it's the pastor, and they have someone with the church that's the COR.
Yeah, often if, for instance, the executive officer does not want to take on the role of the chartered org rep because it requires, coming to committee meetings and being a lot more active with the unit. So usually they want someone else to be that liaison between the chartered organization and the unit. And a lot of times that person is someone who has their foot in both of the things. Like maybe it's a member of the church who's also a member of the troop or pack.
All right. Matt.
Hey, Tamara, can we go back to the adult fee question?
Sure.
I'm not sure we stated that correctly. So each adult pays the $45 national fee, and then only the first adult in each family pays the $38 Chester County program fee. Second adults in the same family do not pay the council program fee.
Okay, great. All right, Matt's question. I have two sons. One is in a troop, the other just joined scouting. Oh, good. We like families that have lots of scouts.
Right.
The Lion Online, and we pay the prorated fees, etc. How do I figure out which one gets the $20 multi-scout? Thinking of a few other families in our pack too.
Yeah, that came a lot when they and we were sitting with Vicky last year. It came up a lot. What you want to do is it's really the parents' choice, saying, look, I paid the pack for one of my sons, and the troop, I don't have to pay, or you have to point as a parent, you would have to tell the pack or the troop which discount you're going to use. So we understand, because we end up calling which ones are going to go for. We're going to use a troop or the pack, or both the troop. If they're in the same troop, it's no big deal, same pack. But you'll have to work with your units to say, I'm going to pay full price for my older son, and my $20 are going to go for my youngest scout. That makes sense.
Awesome. And then Jeff's asking, I see that the session's being recorded. Indeed it is. When and where can I get access to this recording? I think it's Melissa's goal to put this up. She's going to have to, it has to obviously run her down to her PC, and then she's going to put it, we have a YouTube channel. She's going to pop a link up on our internet Recharter page. Is that true, Melissa?
Yes.
Awesome.
We have quite a few people that couldn't make it tonight, and they asked the same thing. So it will be a link on the Recharter page that was on the chat session above that, on the council website. You will click that and go to the YouTube and watch the whole thing.
Can I add one other thing about clearances that I thought of that isn't really related to Recharter, but kind of is, which is that, we collect all of the clearances and keep track of the dates that they expire and everything. We're not supposed to be like a library for them. So if you have adults that are handing them in, make sure they're keeping a copy themselves. We have a lot of people that email us all the time saying, oh, I want to go work at the school now, and can you send me a copy of my clearances? And it's very hard for us to look those up and get them sent out. So it's really best and quickest for everyone if they make sure they keep their own copies on hand somewhere, so when they need them for other things, they can do that.
Shameless plug, if they upload them to the clearance portal, they can log back in and re-download them at any time.
Oh, that's pretty.
Nice
That is
plug.
shameless.
That's awesome. All right. So Chris is asking, what is the process to follow if the chartered org exec has changed? Are you talking about the COR, Chris?
No, actually the executive person for the organization.
Yeah.
We're sponsored by Centennial Lutheran Church, and they're going through a search for a new pastor. So I don't think they found a permanent pastor yet, but I'm sure at some point it will happen.
Chris, Harry Gladfelder will sign that for you. He'll do both the COR and the executive signatures.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. There's a new unit app up on the screen down at the bottom if you have a new executive officer, because they'll fill down at the bottom is all they need to fill out, and they'll sign the chartered org agreement as well.
Okay. Once I find out from Harry if that's happened, we'll make sure we get that done at some point. So perfect.
Awesome.
So with that, real quick, just as follow up. So
Sure.
with the online recharter being submitted, then it has to go through the sign off by the key 3. So let me just think for a second here. Key 3 for recharter would be the executive. So you're saying Harry should be able to sign off on that. He'll get a notification.
Yeah, the COR or the Cub Master yourself, or the committee chair, chair, Chris, yourself, or the Cub Master. And this is what happened a lot last year, folks, if you weren't aware of it, is you thought everybody thought they were done and they submitted everything and they're waiting and you hit submit. And once you hit submit, that one of the key 3 has to go in and approve it. And we can't, as a council, the registrar can't get in, I can't get in, nobody can get in until until one of the key 3 approve that. So they get an email, they hit approve, then we can see it, then we can recharter the unit. So how many calls do we have to make? So you need to get that over to to one of the key 3 to approve it. So
Okay.
Please be aware of that.
But any of the key 3 can do it. Perfect.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent.
Awesome. Yeah, so Dan's question got answered. Anybody else have any other questions?
I could add something for you for some of the new people.
Awesome.
If you have multiple scouts or adults, you have to make the discount on your charter when you put it in, because it won't populate the fact that you are due a discount. Do you follow? If you don't ask for it, you won't get the extra money back. So in other words, you'll be paying full price for every scout and full price for every leader if you don't put in and ask for the discount.
And that discount now is, we're asking you to put that, since we're not meeting at Recharter Day, we're asking you to do that on that form that you submit after you submit the charter. And that will come back to you in the form of a rebate along with the 5%, that goes for financial aid that you can use. So it will all come in as one amount after your stuff is submitted.
All right, I see a question from Sarah. She's asking, is a JT scorecard for the previous year? So it's for 2022 for the new JTE stuff. Any other questions or sage advice, as Wayne is like to help and share with us? So, okay, another question. So if I'm the one submitting the recharter, I should be the only one to submit it since I'm the Cub Master for 9, correct?
You should definitely only submit 1 recharter per unit. Yes, for sure. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Cub Master, but if you're volunteering, which it sounds like you're doing, then I say go for it.
Oh, the Cub Master from 9, he's on it, man. All right. Okay, so Brian asked to pay full for multiple members and get a rebate later.
That's correct. We found last year that a lot of people weren't actually getting all their discounts. They weren't getting their discounts in, or they were doing them incorrectly. So we decided that this year it would be easier if we reviewed that first before we gave the discount back, and we didn't want to hold up the process of submitting the payment for the rest of the recharter. But we feel like this is the best way to make sure that you do get your full discounts back, and that they're accurate.
That's fine. It's not a big deal. It doesn't happen a lot, but basically the PAC or the troop's going to float that 40 or 60 or whatever dollars until the check comes in. That's kind of what we're saying. Again, it's not a big sum of money, so it's not a big deal, but that's what we're doing this year.
Yeah, we realize that, and we're going to try to get that money back as quickly as we can as soon as all the parts are in. As soon as we know all the parts are in, we're going to start sending those payments right out. If you are taking the amount in your unit account, that can happen almost immediately. I mean, after all the stuff's handed in.
Awesome. So John had a question. If a scout is now an adult, and his parent is a leader, does that qualify for a discount?
If they live in the same household, yes. It's a household discount. If your kid lives down at Sea Base though, John,
Exactly. Oh, he's home now for the recharter process. Okay. Any other questions? Awesome. So anybody, if you have any questions, I know sometimes they come up after we get off the call and you're like, oh, I should have asked that question. Again, that's Recharter. It's Recharter at cccbsa.org. Right, guys? And then that goes to a bunch of us so we can help you. And we want to help you. We want to make this easy. And we're very excited about working with you on your Recharter process. Norm's available. I know Tom's available. Nathan and I, and then of course all of our district professional staff, Doug and Melissa. Jake's always awesome with everything, all technology savvy. So anything we can do to help you, just let me know. Thank you, Jake, for putting that into the chat window, our email address.
Tamara, thanks. You guys did a great job tonight, the whole crew.
Thank you.
Really well done.
Thank you, Chris. All right. You guys have a great evening. Let us know how we can help you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks. Great
Good
turn
night.
tonight. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Yep.